Hey everyone, this is MusicTechHelpGuy, and welcome to part 13 of my Logic Pro 10 201 course. In this video, I want to demonstrate some common microphone techniques for vocals. This video is actually applicable to recording vocals in general. It's not DAW specific, but these concepts are important to understand before we start to record. So when I was originally writing this course, I was thinking that I would demonstrate recording vocals and microphone techniques here in the studio. We've got a lot of great gear and some great tube mics as well. And then I got to thinking, if you're watching this course, you're probably not working in a pro studio with a $5,000 tube mic and a $12,000 vocal chain going into Logic. You're probably doing a home recording or working out of a home studio. And don't get me wrong, you can make some fantastic recordings in a home studio if you do things right. So in this video, I'm gonna give you a rundown of miking techniques for vocals. But when we actually record the vocals, we'll be back at my home studio with a much cheaper microphone and in a less optimal recording environment. It wouldn't be fair to record through a $5,000 mic into a $3,500 Neve Shelfer channel strip, and then into a $3,800 LA2A compressor, and then all of that goes into a Lynx Aurora converter, and that's another cool $5,000. So that's what I was talking about with a $12,000 vocal chain. Most of you guys are probably going directly into an audio interface, or maybe a channel strip or a preamp, and then into the interface. First, let's talk about the different types of microphones. There's three main types of mics. You have condenser mics, dynamic mics, and ribbon mics. Nowadays, ribbon mics aren't typically used for vocals, and I'm not saying that they're never used, I'm just saying that nowadays they're far less common for vocal recording. However, ribbon mics, like this Royer R122 here, are very common for instrumental recordings like guitar amps, drum room mics, and for horns and strings. So this really leaves us with two main options for recording vocals: condenser mics or dynamic mics. Dynamic mics like this Shure SM7B are typically going to have a narrower frequency range. So with most dynamic mics, you'll see noticeable roll-offs in the lows and in the highs. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. That can add to the character and tone of the mic, but generally you're not going to hear as much of the airy high end from a dynamic mic. Dynamic mics are also less sensitive than condensers. You'll hear a much bigger difference in a dynamic mic signal when you record further away or closer. You don't want your source to be too far away from a dynamic mic because then the room ambience starts to take over the direct sound. So with dynamic mics, I tend to stand pretty close to the mic, like within 6 or 7 inches of the mic. Now, I typically shy away from using mics like an SM57 or a 58 for studio recordings. These I typically use for live sound, but not for studio recordings. But the Shure SM7B is my absolute favorite mic for recording vocals. It's great for more intense rock and heavy metal vocals, as well as rap vocals. So more intense vocals like this can be more percussive, and dynamic mics are less sensitive to plosives. And although the 7B has a built-in windscreen pop filter on it, I still will use a separate pop filter when recording. Now with condensers, they're more sensitive and almost always have a full frequency range from 20 Hz to 20,000 Hz. The variation in tone of the recording comes from the type of capsule, whether it's a tube mic or a solid-state mic, and also the kind of electronics going on inside. Condenser mics can have a lot of varieties. You have small diaphragm, large diaphragm, tube, solid-state FET, with a transformer, without a transformer. These are called transformerless mics. So there's a lot of variation. The good news is that almost any large diaphragm condenser mic can be used for recording vocals. Small diaphragm condensers I typically reserve for instrumental recordings. Now when it comes to tube versus solid state, you can get some really nice warmth and saturation from a tube mic that you don't get from a solid state mic, but they tend to be more expensive. Tube mics also have their own power supply, so you don't need phantom power for tube mics like you do with other condensers. Also with tube mics, make sure to turn the power supply on and wait 10 to 20 minutes before recording to let the tube fully warm up. Another thing with tube mics is to make sure to mount them upside down like this. What this does is it keeps the tube above the capsule and then keeps the heat from the tube from turning your breath into condensation on the capsule. However, I tend to mount my mic upside down regardless. This just keeps the stand out of the way. My favorite tube mic for recording vocals is the U47. However, a new Telefunken U47 will cost you around $9,000. We have a good clone of the U47 here from Flea Microphones that goes for around $5,000, but that's still pretty pricey for most home studio recordings. The good news is there's a lot of good options for condenser mics nowadays that are under $1,000, and some are well under $500. So what I'm going to use to record vocals for this song is the same mic that I always use for my YouTube recordings. It's an AKG C414B ULS. It's a solid-state, large diaphragm condenser. Although they don't make this model anymore, it's got a bit more vibe and it's not as bright as the current lineup of C414s, the XL2 and the XLS that are currently available. I also like that I get 4 different polar patterns: cardioid, supercardioid, omnidirectional, and bidirectional. For vocals, I always use cardioid, but if you're worried about picking up too much of the room, you can try supercardioid to reject the sides a bit more. And you can also try experimenting with a microphone shield to reject sound from the back of the mic. Next, let's talk about distance and placement. The thing that most people assume is that you just line the capsule right up with your mouth. That can actually cause some problems. What I typically do is I angle the mic down at the singer's chin, not their mouth, and typically right around like 6 inches away from the mic. Now, if your singer's a bit louder, they can back off the mic, or if they're a bit softer, they can come closer to the mic, but 6 inches is a good starting point. And again, I'm angling it down at my chin, not directly at my mouth. Now, if you sing too close to a mic, you can get a buildup of low frequencies in the recording, and as you pull back, you'll get less and less of those lows. This is called the proximity effect. If a mic is placed closer to a source, you'll get more low-end buildup, which doesn't help with plosives either. So this angling technique actually helps solve a lot of these problems. Sometimes you can actually get away without using a pop filter at all if you angle like this, because the diaphragm isn't directly aligned with your mouth. Although I still typically use a pop filter anyway, just as a safety. The angle can also help to reduce sibilants too, which is a buildup of S sounds in the recording. So like I said, 6 inches is about where I start, but if the singer starts overloading and clipping, you can just pull down your preamp gain or add a pad on the mic if it has one, or add a pad on the preamp stage. Or just ask the singer to back off the mic when they're singing louder, and if they're singing softer, ask them to come closer to the mic. I've actually had recordings before where I've had the singer like more than a foot away from the mic because they were so loud, and they sound just fine. Just keep in mind, the further away from a mic, the less the direct signal you're going to hear and the more of the ambient tone of the room you're going to get in the signal. However, at that distance, plosives and sibilants and low-end buildup, they're not really much of a problem. So that's pretty much it. Vocal recording is actually relatively simple. Decide what type of mic you need for your voice and your genre, get it positioned correctly, set your preamp gain correctly, make sure you're in a decent sounding acoustic space, and you should be good to go. If you're going to be doing more aggressive rock or rap vocals, or if you're doing any screaming or shouting or anything like that, you probably don't want to do this on a condenser mic. Go get a Shure SM7B, you'll be happy that you did. If you're doing less aggressive singing, try out a large diaphragm condenser. The good news is that nowadays there's a lot of great, cheaper models of expensive mics like the U87 and the U47 from companies like Warm Audio, Stam Audio, and others. So now that our arrangement's finished and we understand the basics of recording vocals with the microphone, we're ready to track our vocals, which we'll do in the next video. If you like this video, please leave it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel to see more content like this. You can also check me out on my social media, on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and on Patreon. Thanks for the support, and thanks for watching.